Welcome back to the one and only Ruby. If you remember last time, we left Ivan and Ruby thinking about Stella and what a great elephant she had been and their memories they had of her. And so today we're going to start on page 159, and 159 is titled Another Home. When I got to the Big Top Mall and Video Arcade at Exit 8, I still remember the moment before the doors opened. I was bruised and skinny and confused. I was too sick to be afraid. But I had been in trucks before. I knew that whatever was on the other side of these heavy metal doors, it wouldn't be good. The doors creaked. I blinked. The sun hurt my eyes after the dark inside of the truck. I saw two men. One was big and loud. The other had a gentle smile and a carrot in his shirt pocket. And we know who that is. A little girl with long black hair stood nearby, her eyes wide. Beyond them was a huge, darkest space with strange odors coming out of it. One really big smell I had never run into before. I smiled at Uncle Ivan. "That turned out to be you," I said. "He is remarkably fragrant," Uncle Bob says. "Thank you, Bob," Uncle Ivan says. He winks at me, I think. The loud man yelled, "This is Ruby, folks. 600 pounds of fun to save our sorry butts." I continue. I smelled old sawdust and stale cotton candy and sad animals. Another circus. No way was I going in there. The loud man and two others climbed into the truck, but I refused to budge. The loud man got louder. The smiling man and the girl looked worried. And then Aunt Stella saved the day. Slowly, she made her way up the truck's ramp. I could see the pain one of her legs was causing her. Nothing about her face said, "This will be a happy place." Nothing said, "I'm glad you are joining me." Softly she murmured, "Come with me now, little one. I'll do my best to care for you." As we walked down the ramp, Stella and me, I heard her whisper to herself, "I just hope my best is good enough." So this part right here just shows us how kind Stella was and how she knew this wasn't going to be a good thing for Ruby, but she was going to try her best to make it better. And that leads us to better. And here's our picture. Aunt Stella saved me from sadness. She cuddled me, loved me, promised me life would get better. She listened to my riddles. She answered my questions. And one other thing, I gazed at my dear Uncle Ivan with his shiny silver fur and gentle eyes. Aunt Stella asked you, Uncle Ivan, to help me find a better life. And you did. Done. I take a deep breath. I'm done with my story. We sit there, Uncle Ivan and Uncle Bob and Aunt Kenyani and me, for a long time. Leaves chatter, children giggle, birds chirp. I'm done with my story and the world just keeps on going like it always has. But when I look over at Uncle Ivan and Uncle Bob, I realize they're both crying. I've watched my share of human cries, mostly little kids who don't want to leave the park. I've seen the red noses and snotty sniffles and tears rivering down cheeks. Maybe you wonder if animals cry. Well, we do. Not in the same way as humans, in quieter, inside of us ways, but you can see the hurt in our eyes if you want to know what to look for. "I'm sorry," I said. "I didn't mean to make you sad, and I realize it's the second time I've said that to them." "You're an exceptionally brave little elephant. Do you know that?" Uncle Ivan says. "You've been through so much." "You are definitely one tough cookie," Uncle Bob agrees. Uncle Ivan looks at me fondly. "I'm glad you told us, Ruby. It's good not to keep things locked up inside," he says, and Uncle Bob groans a little. I know, Bob," Uncle Ivan says. "I haven't wanted to talk about Stella." He pauses. "But maybe I was wrong." "It wouldn't be the first time," says Aunt Kenyani. "Did you ever tell Stella your story?" Uncle Bob asks me. "Yes," I say, "and she told me hers too." I shake my head. "I remember one time at night, we used to talk all night while you guys snored away." "Hey, blame the big guy for that," Uncle Bob protests. Anyway, that night, Aunt Stella talked about how she would love to be with a herd of elephants again, and I said, "I'm your herd." My voice trails off, but I knew it wasn't the same. "Ruby! Ruby!" Someone is calling me from the visitors area. It's Carmen. She's holding a yellow balloon and her long hair is tied in a braid. "Your public awaits," says Uncle Bob. I guess I should go, I say. Thanks for listening. You're the best uncles ever. In case I don't see you, good luck tomorrow, Uncle Bob says. You're going to rock your Tuskday. You are the one and only Ruby, and don't forget it. Ruby? Uncle Ivan calls softly just as I start to leave. Yes, Uncle Ivan? You made Stella's last days the happiest of her life, he points to me. You were all the herd she ever needed. I nod, but I'm not sure he's right. So there we see Ivan trying to make Ruby feel better about the whole situation. Tuskday. Even with a full moon and a cloudless night, I don't sleep at all. As soon as the keepers slide open the pavilion doors in the morning, I'm the first one outside. It's dawn and the dew-covered lawn sparkles like a giant green sugar cookie. I've only had a sugar cookie once for a special treat, but it was amazing. Behind me, I hear Aunt Elodie and Aunt Masiska singing, "It's your Tusk Day! Happy, happy Tusk Day! Tusky, Tusky, we love you!" I turn and wave my trunk, and then dash off before they can begin a second verse. I realize I'm practically running from my aunts, running from a ceremony that's just meant to, how did Aunt Layla put it? To celebrate the herd, to celebrate the earth. But herds don't last, and the earth is a scary place sometimes, and tusks too often mean death. My ears are shivering and my tummy is churning, and I don't know why, but I can't do my Tusk Day. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a month or a year, but not today. I check behind me. The other elephants are sauntering out of the pavilion, stretching, browsing, taking in the perfect morning air. Nobody is paying any attention to me. I slow down, trying to calm my hammering heart to walk nice and casual. Just getting a little exercise. Nothing to see here, folks. Then I head to the faraway fence with the not very big hole that might just be big enough for a not very big elephant. So, do you remember that hole? What do you think Ruby will do? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Do you think she's going to try to fit through the hole? Let's see. Voice. I'm a little surprised the hole hasn't been repaired. The park workers are really careful about fences and things like that. They seem to think park residents shouldn't chow down on visitors or on each other. But this hole leads to a big stretch of trees and grass, and it doesn't look like an official part of the park. Parts of the fence are covered in black plastic, but through gaps, I can make out lots of trucks and digging machines and piles of dirt. The hole in the wire is about as tall as I am. There's a piece that's come loose from a metal post. It's not exactly me-sized, but it's close. I poke my head through. No problem. Easy peasy. Then a voice in my head starts chattering. So you get through the hole, Ruby. Then what? And here's a picture of Ruby in front of the hole of the fence. Good question, voice. I push a little bit more. The wire is brushing my shoulder, but I'm still okay. Voice is waiting for an answer. I get through the hole, I reply, and then I hide behind the fence. And then the ants get mad because they can't find me, and they give up on Tuskday, and then voila! I appear and they yell at me, but I can deal with it because at least I don't have to give a silly speech about my annoying tusks and growing up and all of that. That's a pretty bad plan, Ruby, voice tells me, and I have to agree. But by then I've scooched another couple inches through the fence, and it turns out my tummy is a little bigger than I thought. And I'm extremely and unfortunately very much stuck. It hurts to move forward, it hurts to move backward. The wire is sharp, and even with my thick elephant skin, it's pokey and scratchy. I told you so, says voice, which is not really helpful. Out of nowhere, I fear I'm going to cry again. It doesn't make sense. All those awful times in Africa I told Ivan and Bob about. I just dealt with them. I didn't cry. Not much anyway. But after seeing Jabari, I cried. And now here I am in this ridiculous position and I decide to cry. I tell myself, calm down, Ruby, in my best scoldy ant voice, and after a while I do. I could yell for help, but I don't want the ants to see me like this. I don't want anyone to see me like this, especially Aunt Akilo. I realize that someone is calling for me. Someone nearby. Unfortunately, it's Aunt Akilo. Of course it is. So, why doesn't she want Aunt Akilo to see her stuck in the fence? Good thinking. Because Aunt Akilo is the one that's the toughest on her. She always wants her to have the proper behaviors and act a certain way. And so, for her to be the one to find Ruby in the fence is probably not going to be a good situation. Rescue. Aunt Akilo doesn't say anything right away. She just stands a few feet from me, taking it all in, which is the worst thing she can do. I want to say, just go ahead and yell at me, or at least laugh at me, but my mouth seems to be stuck shut. It feels like I just ate a hive full of honey, bees and all. I love that description. Can you just see that? If you had eaten that, how your mouth would feel? She steps closer. She smells like fresh hay and cantaloupe, and I realize how hungry I am. Hello, Tuskday, she says at last, in that voice of hers that's windy and cool and a tiny bit scary. I wonder if she sounded like this when she was a little elephant. Then I wonder if she ever even was a little elephant. I force myself to speak. I say, my voice cracks. Hi there, Aunt Akilo. She examines the torn fence with her trunk. Would you like to hear a riddle, she asks. I was expecting her to say a whole bunch of things, none of them exactly good, but not that. Sure, I say, trying not to breathe too hard because breathing means pokey wires. I love riddles. I know you do, she says, still checking the fence. I know a lot about you, little one. She grips a section of wire with the end of her trunk, but the fence barely moves. All right then, Akilo says. Here goes. What time is it when an elephant sits on a fence? She almost looks, I don't know, nervous. Like, I wonder if she's ever told a riddle before. The thing is, I know the answer, but should I tell her? Or should I pretend I've never heard the riddle? I wait for that bossy voice in my head to give me a clue, but it seems to have run away. The voice is a chicken. I have no idea, Aunt Akilo said. What time is it when an elephant sits on a fence? She waits. At least she knows how to do that part. It is, she said, her eyes sparkling. Time to fix the fence. She looks hopeful, like she's never made anyone laugh before, and there's something so sweet and silly about her expression that I pretend to chuckle, even though, of course, I've heard that riddle 100 times. So, have you ever heard that riddle before? Yeah, that's a pretty good one. That's one that we've all heard a lot. The truth. Good one, Aunt Akilo, I say. I'm not much of a jokester, she admits, but that seemed perfect under the circumstances. It was for sure, I say. So, she points to the fence with her trunk. What's the plan? You going somewhere? Just saw the hole and got curious, I say, which is sort of not a lie, but probably still counts as not okay behavior. Tuskday, Aunt Akilo says, and when she sees me make a face, she tries again. Ruby, she yanks on the dandelion and holds it up to the sun. I remember being afraid on my Tuskday, too. There's a picture of the dandelion. You? I ask, unable to hide my surprise. It's hard to imagine Aunt Akilo being afraid of anything. Oh my, yes. She drops the dandelion, then reconsiders, picks it up, and eats it. What are you afraid of? As soon as the words are out of my mouth, I wonder if I've asked something not okay. Aunt Akilo seems fine with my question. Where to start, she exclaims. Everything and nothing. I had so many worries. Would I be brave enough when I grew up? Strong enough? Wise enough? Kind enough? She gives a small a laugh. Could I, little Akilo, ever lead a herd? Well, here you are, I say, our matriarch. So I guess that worked out okay. True, she agrees. But I was born like you, in Africa. Our herd was 20 strong, sometimes more. That's a big burden for any elephant to take up on her shoulders. Here she shrugs. Here it's easy. Here we just pretend to be wild. Here the keepers bring your water. There are no droughts in the park, no threats, she pauses, unless you count the odor coming from the water buffalo enclosure. I belly laugh, which is a bad idea because my belly is stuck in a big wire fence. My point, she adds, is if I become the matriarch of my African herd, my life would have been very different. When we first met, I told the other elephants I was from Africa, but I hadn't realized Aunt Akilo was from there too. Truth is, I only knew little bits and pieces about my aunts and their histories. They don't talk much about the past. The only reason I know about Aunt Layla's hurt eye and Aunt Xania's arthritis is because I overheard them talking one afternoon. I was not exactly eavesdropping, I was investigating, and elephants have excellent hearing. So I want to talk about those two words, investigating and eavesdropping, because they mean two very different things. So if you're investigating, you're looking for the answer to something. We hear this a lot in murder books, mysteries, the investigation. But it can also be maybe you're trying to find the answer to a math problem, so you're investigating ways to work it. So you're trying to find the answer about something. Eavesdropping is when you're purposely listening to a conversation that either you weren't invited to listen to or you probably shouldn't have been listening to. So I think it's easy here that Ruby is trying to excuse her behavior, because which was she really doing? Yes, she was eavesdropping. She was not trying to find the answer to a question. She was not trying to learn something. She was trying to find out more about her aunts, but instead of walking up to them and asking them a question, she just started listening. Are any of the other aunts from Africa, I ask? No, Aunt Stella answers. All captive born, circuses and roadside attractions and such, she shudders. Nice, not nice places. We're lucky here. Luckier than many elephants anyway. Do you remember much about Africa, Aunt Akilo, I ask, because I can't help myself. Too much, she says, and not enough. I suppose I pick and choose my memories. Uncle Ivan is like that, I say. And maybe that's how we manage to stay hopeful, Aunt Akilo says. In Africa, I say softly, they were bad people. They killed elephants because they wanted their tusks. When I was there, I saw it too, Ruby. I still have nightmares about it. We fell quiet for a moment, and then I say the words out loud. I hate my tusks, I whisper. Aunt Akilo touches my back with her trunk, so softly she could be a moth or a morning breeze. I know, dear one, she says. I know. Backward. It's true that tusks can be a burden, says Aunt Akilo, but I'm about to show you how useful they can be sometimes, too. She moves closer to the fence and pushes on the wire with her left tusk. I'm going to push this as hard as I can, she says, and as soon as there's enough space, you back up toward me or head on through, if that's what you want to do. She yanks on the edge of the wire with her left tusk. The fence is no match for her amazing strength. But which way am I going? I listen for my voice. Nothing. Instead, I hear Aunt Xania's words, you can't run away from growing up. That's a race you will not win, my friend. I take a step forward. I take a step backward. I take another step backward. Looks like heading backward is the winner. Aunt Akilo checks to make sure I'm not scratched or hurt. I'm fine, I say, just a little embarrassed. I add silently. Now let's you and I have a talk, she says. About not okay behavior, I guess. Aunt Akilo winks at me. About tusks, she replies. So I love this special part of the book because here we see Ruby and Aunt Akilo and they're bonding because they have shared experiences. They were both in Africa. They both have seen elephants killed for their tusks. So instead of being mean to Ruby and talking to her about bad behavior, Aunt Akilo was supporting her and bonding with her in a special way. All right, that's it for today. Join me next time when we finish the book, The One and Only Ruby.